I quit my job as a CEO. I got rid of all my things. I sold things, and I just went with one backpack completely alone. And when, as soon as I arrived to the country, I realized that it was the people that made the country so beautiful. Despite the lovely beaches, the white sand, and all of these beautiful, beautiful locations, the people that I crossed paths with, they all had their stories. They all helped me to shift my perspective. And I recommend doing this to everyone. If anyone is ever in a position to just get up and travel for a little bit, just please do it, because it is really going to
But
make a difference.
hello, I'm John Brink, and we are podcasting on the Brink from downtown Prince George, British Columbia. And for all those people watching us around the world, is Prince George is in British Columbia. British Columbia is in Canada. Amazing province, big province actually. And for those people watching, you know the city of Vancouver. We are about 500 miles north of Vancouver, or 800 kilometers, which is precisely in the center of British Columbia. And it's a beautiful day, and today a very, very special guest. And I just want to make sure I spell your name correctly. Timi Orosz.
Perfect. You've said it
So,
exactly as it should be.
thank you. Timi, welcome to the show. And again, you are very interesting, because when I looked at your bio, it starts with impact strategist and game changer. So I
Yes.
like that, and that's all I'm going to say in the intro. And obviously, you're very well spoken, you're a very, very good communicator. That's already obvious. Tell us about you, Timi.
Yeah, thank you for having me. I'm super excited to have this conversation with you, because when I read your bio as well, I got really excited to have a chat with you. You've got an impressive story. So thank you for having me here.
Thank you.
I'm currently based in Spain, in the Canary Islands, enjoying the summer kind of weather all year round. And impact is a big driver for me. So I've done a lot of different things. And when you say impact strategies, to me, that means I think we are here on this planet to make it a little bit better, to create some kind of a positive impact. So in a super short form, that's how I would explain what that means to the listeners and the viewers. If someone is driven by making an impact, is to make our world a little bit better than how it was yesterday.
So, just to make sure for our guests watching from around the world, and obviously the ones in Europe will know where you are, is the Canary Islands are part of Spain, and
They
they are
are.
off the coast of Morocco, a beautiful, beautiful place. The capital city, correct me if I'm wrong, is Tenerife, and
It's basically seven different islands,
yes,
which make up the Canary Islands, and the one I'm currently living on is called Tenerife. And each island has their own sort of mini capital. This one, where I'm currently living in, it has Santa Cruz, and that's the sort of capital of this island. But all of them have their sort of differences, their like little uniqueness, their quirkiness, and this island, the one I'm on, is super amazing because of the nature, and it has very different microclimates as well. So you basically travel 10 miles or 10, 15 kilometers, and you're in a different kind of climate already. And you have everything here, from the volcano to the rainforest to the sort of rocky and the black sandy beaches. Beautiful, stunning.
very popular as a holiday destination for the people
It
from
is.
around the world, really, and in particular from Europe.
It is, especially from the UK and from Germany as well, and from Holland as well. Yeah, we do have a lot of sort of tourists down here. And just to give you some perspective, that the entire population of this island is 1 million, and last year they had like 12 million tourists on the island. So basically, you get an extra million each month if you break it down. It's
Wow,
crazy how popular it is. Yeah.
unbelievable. So, I'm familiar with it because I holidayed there when I'm originally from Holland, and but I already was in Canada when I holidayed there, and I still remember it's very, very beautiful, very, very nice.
Mm.
So now, for yourself, just a little bit about your history personally. You were born and where and
Hungary.
educated. Hungary,
Yes, I have quite a
Budapest.
long story, but I try to keep it a little bit shorter. You know,
Yeah.
I was born in the east side of the country of
Okay.
Hungary, and
Okay.
even when I was a kid, I knew that the world is too big, and I just wanted to see everything. So I always had this little curiosity in me that we need to explore, we need to see what else is out there. So I was 18 when I left the country and I moved over to the UK. Hence the slightly British way of using English, English not being my first language, and I picked up the sort of British way of speaking the language because I spent 10 years in the UK, and I really got myself into all these different kind of roles, and I always wanted to do something that is meaningful, and in the UK when I was there, I ended up getting involved with sales, the traditional getting into the call center, people shouting, you have to hit your daily targets, that kind of buzz that you see in the movies. And I realized like, okay, you can really use this for good instead of just trying to sell extended warranty or insurance for people that they really don't want to speak to you. And it really helped me understand what are the sort of skills that I actually had at such a young age. I was around 20 when I was working in these kind of jobs. And then I ended up going into the banking sector. It was great money, it was great opportunities for me to develop as well. And 6 years later down the line, I realized that it's just really not sitting well with me, the whole sector and the whole industry. So I was sitting there thinking that I love this country, living in the UK. It's incredible, it's amazing. I made a lot of friends there, and my family moved over there as well. So I still have actually family in the UK now. And then I felt that something was just not right. And you probably have that feeling as well when everything looks good on paper, but something within isn't quite right or something isn't clicking. And I think our career has a major impact on that. And that's when I was around 26, 27, I think, when I left the UK and I realized, okay, I need to start new and go into a different new direction. I don't want to wake up 30 years down the line still being in the same job that I didn't enjoy anymore. And I ended up moving to a small island called Malta. I don't know, have you been down there? Are you familiar with that island?
No.
It's very
Now,
close to Italy. It's very close
okay.
to Italy. It's a
So yeah,
tiny
I have
little.
been there. I have been
Oh,
there.
you have?
So right off the coast of Italy, right?
Exactly. Close to
So
Sicily.
so at a very early age, you were already doing well in business and
Mhm.
became a CEO of an entity. And
Yes.
then after a couple of years, you became stressed by it or not happy by it, and you made a major move which would have a significant impact on your life because you decided to go from England and move to Sri Lanka. Now,
No,
Sri
no.
Lanka,
First, I yeah. First, I skipped. I went over to Malta. So when I left the
okay,
UK, I moved over to Malta, and this is when I burnt out. That was the location. That's when
okay,
I became a CEO. Yeah, my story is a little bit. It
yeah,
could be a
yeah,
bit all
no,
over
no.
the place. I travel and move around a lot.
So you were in, so you went from Britain to
Hmm.
Malta, and you
Yes.
worked then for a corporation there, rose very quickly to the top, or got hired on the top, and then got kind of burned out or stressed out,
Proper
and
burnout.
then you made a decision to make a major move to move to Sri Lanka. Now, Sri
Correct.
Lanka,
Correct.
correct me if I'm wrong, is in the South Asia. It's
It is
just south of, or south, you can
India.
see virtually India from there.
Hmm.
It's fairly big, actually. It has over 20 million people, and it is a Republican, I believe, or it's a democratic
It
government structure, and
it
it
is.
has lots of beautiful weather for one, and then lots of tea and other things that they manufacture, cacao and rubber and all these other. So tell us about that.
Yeah, it was a beautiful, beautiful experience as well because I really wanted a bit of a culture shock, and I really wanted to remove myself from the familiar. And for me, the familiar was mainly Europe at that point, and that's why I chose a location like that. So I quit my job as a CEO. I got rid of all my things. I sold things, and I just went with one backpack completely alone. And when as soon as I arrived to the country, I realized that it was the people that made the country so beautiful. despite the lovely beaches, the white sand, and all of these beautiful, beautiful locations, the people that I crossed paths with, they all had their stories. They all helped me to shift my perspective. And I recommend doing this to everyone. If anyone is ever in a position to just get up and travel for a little bit, just please do it, because it is really going to make
But
a difference for your.
But it's a major move for you at a young
Yeah.
age that you then picked up everything that you had. You were already established. You had your career moving in the right
Mhm.
direction. And then there must have been, you must have been really feeling that you had to make a change away from everything, sell the personal things that you had, move to Sri
Yeah.
Lanka, and English is very well spoken there, but they
It
have
is.
their own language there, and it's a very very major move. I know that from myself because I did that when I was 23. I left Holland and moved to Canada, and I couldn't speak English. I
Yeah.
didn't have a job, didn't know a soul, one suitcase, three books, two sets of clothes, and virtually no money. So those are major major moves, and so it must have been for you even emotionally a major decision to make. You still had family in England and moved to
Mhm.
a place like that.
It was definitely a bit of a midlife crisis, came too early. I think that's what happened to me.
Yeah.
I just really felt that I had all of my goals in my mind, and I was very sort of goal oriented. Every year, I would plan my entire year, the entire month, to make sure that, okay, I'm going to hit this goal, I'm going to achieve that, I'm going to do that. And when I ticked everything off that list, I was just sitting there at the top, feeling really lonely and really unfulfilled. And I asked myself, is this really what it is? Is this what life is supposed to be about? That you have the title, you have the car and the money and all that stuff that you thought that is going to make you feel good or happy or accomplished, and you realize that no, that for me personally, that was a bit of a crisis, and I knew that if I'm not going to do something about it, I'm so going to regret just getting caught up in that sort of the whirlwind of things, or the grind, more like it. And that's the feeling that I took away with me. And then I realized that you can go as far as you can in the world. You're always going to take yourself with you, and that was my biggest lesson, that I couldn't just expect to my entire life to change just because I moved to a different country so far away, such a different sort of culture as well, different society, different foods, cuisine, very, very different to what I was accustomed to. But it really made me realize that I had to sit with myself and really take a deeper look within to understand, what is it that I really wanted? What would really make me feel happy? What's the sort of aligned path for me, especially in my career, that is make me going to feel that, okay, I'm accomplishing something in a positive light, and not just running a business or running a team or increasing conversions or revenue and all that fun stuff that comes with it. But I do feel that I had to go through that entire process of ticking the titles off, and all of those ego-driven goals that I had, and that's perfectly okay in my view to have them and to experience them, and realize what it feels like and what it makes you feel when you do accomplish them. And that was my sort of inner journey, along with the physical journey as well, that I really felt lost. That I think that's what it was, not seeing the future. What do I want to do next?
So if I kind of look at it and then compare it to, in a way, to myself, that
Yeah.
being born in Hungary and
Mhm.
having and Eastern Hungary, not in the major
Yes.
Budapest is the capital of Budapest, obviously, and then leaving that at 18 or 20, then going
Mhm.
to the UK, and then that alone is already a major step to take from an environment that you were born in and was comfortable, but still not fulfilling for you, looking for opportunity, and then going to Britain and again excelling very quickly into management roles and having this set of abilities that you have, obviously, and you're very good at the things that you do. You're driven. You being very effective in getting into senior management and understanding it. In order to do that, my experience is that you have to go through the ups and downs, and although they at the time are very distressing, but in the longer term, it gives you an amazing amount of experiences that many
Oh
people
yes.
do not have. I have that. You have that.
Yeah.
And then obviously not feeling fulfilled in Britain, and then making the move to Malta, and again rising very quickly, and then still not having that inner feeling of fulfillment or destiny. There is something that is missing for whatever reason, and or a combination of reasons. And then it virtually looks to me like you want to the map and saying, I want to be as far away as I can, and let me
Yep.
see Sri Lanka. That's what it is.
Yeah.
And I will find that's what I'm looking for there, because I'm starting from the beginning. And then obviously what you then discovered is that one of the major challenges you had, and I say that constructively, is that your challenges didn't, or your frustration didn't leave you. You took it with you, and even there
Of
you
course.
were successful. And until you had that part reconciled in your mind and saying, okay, I'm good. I'm going to again go to my checklist and look at it and add some other things to it, and then said, Tenerife. and
Yes.
so and so, how long ago was it that you went to the Canary Islands?
I've been here for 3 years, but before I came here, I also lived in Barcelona. So I have lived around
I
quite a bit.
love Barcelona. I love Spain.
So do
Yeah,
I.
yeah,
So do I. Such a beautiful city. It has everything that
yeah.
someone needs: the culture, the weather, the food, the nature. It's fantastic. I
And the
really,
whole
really
thing
love
about
living.
Spain, what I love about it is, that me coming from here and then going down there, we are into horses, and we did a trip through Spain, for about a week, looking at 20 different horses for riding the dressage. Both my wife and myself, we ride English dressage. But
Yeah.
anyway, so we go there, and life starts there at 9 o'clock in the evening, and then it just goes on and on and on. And people have dinner, and the food keeps coming and coming. An amazing place, So I
It's
recommend
lovely. It's a
to
very,
everybody.
yeah. If anyone who's not been to that region or any kind of sort of Mediterranean countries, I so recommend it. Even when I
Yeah,
was living in Malta, it had a lot of similarities to Spain when it comes to that laid back lifestyle. And
yeah.
maybe a lot of people joke about it that, especially with Spanish people or this kind of region, that they are not in a rush. It's true, and I think they've got it figured out. Like, why should we
They
be
got their
rushing around like
priorities
crazy?
right? Yeah.
Exactly. They know how to live, and I think these are the sort of smaller life experiences that we don't always notice. That even the location that you are currently living in can give you a lesson if you are open to receive it or recognize it. And for me, living in these different cities, different countries, I always try to take something away from the local culture or from the locations or the cuisine or whatever that it was, because when you travel, it really does expand your mind, and it just expands your horizons. It shows you different perspectives, and
Exactly.
being in Spain is that, like, it really showed me how to stress less. And I'm still not perfect. I still, end up overthinking things sometimes, as we all do. But it really helps you recognize that the sun is shining, the weather is nice, the food is amazing, and when you walk on the streets, you can see the local people just sitting on a bench, just chatting instead of rushing around and, like, with that sort of angry or anxious face that you usually see in other places or cities.
So what I found, Timmy, is that I'm quite a bit older than you are. I'm 83. I will be 84 this year, and that it took me a long time to come to peace with who I am,
Mm,
and so I'm there now. I live where I dream to live in Canada.
mhm.
We were liberated by the Canadian Army April the 12th, 1945. It was pretty rough going for my family. Still saw far too much that I should not have seen, and my family shouldn't have seen. Is affected by PTSD in a child, and then, but I wasn't very successful in school. I failed grade 3 and I failed grade 7 3 times. And, and then they said, what are we going to do with this guy? Do we send him to a mentally challenged school? Fortunately, my parents were very beautiful people. Or do we get him a trade of some sort? Fortunately, they chose the latter. So at 13, I started working in a furniture factory. And I developed the dream of going to Canada already at 5 years old when we were liberated by the Canadian Army. And I knew I would go to the land of my heroes, Canada. And then obviously school was not very successful, and friends can be very hard on each other, So all of a sudden the friends that I had in my younger years and in grade 7, a lot of them went on to college, then to university, and I became a laborer. I'm proud of that today, but then it was a bit of a lonely world, and I tried to immigrate to Canada. When I was 17, my parents wouldn't let me, and then was drafted into the Air Force for 2 years, which was a very, very good experience. Then finally went to Canada, and when I was 23, took the plane to Montreal, trained across Canada, big country, 4 days, 5 nights, and then arrived in Vancouver. I wanted to start with nothing. I kind of felt I had failed in Holland, because at some point you will get married, you get a career, you get a house, and every time that you do something, that people ask you, okay, so where are your diplomas? Well, I didn't have any diplomas, so, and so then I went to Canada, and then, so I wanted to prove to myself that I was just as good as everybody else, but I had to prove it to me, not anybody else. And so I wanted to start with nothing, with that suitcase, 3 books, 2 sets of clothes. Took $150 with me when I left Amsterdam in July of 1965, came to Canada, Vancouver. And then the other dream that I had, my grandfather was a master carpenter, my dad managed a small lumber mill, and I wanted to build a lumber mill. And so when I came to Vancouver, went to the immigration office, couldn't speak English, didn't have a job, obviously, and didn't know anybody.
Yeah.
Fortunately, there was a German fellow there. I told him what I wanted to do. He said, Prince George. Go to Prince George. They're building sawmills, pilot plants, that's where it's a boom town. So I took the bus 14 hours to Prince George. I can still see it here, the Greyhound station, where I arrived in 1965. I had my suitcase and my 3 books and 2 sets of clothes, and I counted my money at least 3 times, and I had exactly $25.47. Now, my employees made this for me, but what I had plenty of is attitude. I always will believe in the positive. If today's a bad day, I'll swear it's better tomorrow. Passion. Whatever I do, I give it 150%. And then the other part is work ethic. I work harder than anybody, even still today at 83. I used to get up at 5:30 in the morning. I always think I'm late. And then I always make my bed, and then, every day I still probably work 12 hours a day, 60, 70 hours a week. And I love it. And then I fly a lot in commercial flights. We do a lot of business in the US and here, and every time I sit in a plane, I'm also a pilot myself, but every time I sit in a plane, I look out of the window.
As a little side note, also a pilot. I love that. I love that about you.
I look out of the windows of the plane and I say, it's paradise. It simply doesn't get any better here. And then a couple of things happened to me that changed my life. Is that I became quite successful in business, and it's not about that story, but that is another bio. I'm doing fine and have a number of different companies. But, I was not a very good communicator, and I was affected by feeling insecure to a certain extent, and I could communicate with people in my companies, about 3 or 4 people, but the other part didn't, until an ex-sister-in-law that I had took me to an organization. I don't know if you're familiar with it. They call it Toastmasters, where you
Oh yes, of
go
course.
and
Yeah.
yeah, and if you Google it, it's interesting. It's where you improve your communication skills in different ways. So I said, okay, is anybody going to ask me any questions? He said, no, just sit there and just take it in. And so halfway through the meetings, they said, hey, John, tell us about you. And I said, okay, I'll never go back here. But I did. I stayed there for 10 years. There are probably, I would say in North America in particular, but also in Europe, there's probably 450,000 people that are participating in Toastmasters
Mhm.
of some form. And there probably have been
That's very
10
useful.
million people that have had the benefit, and but of the staying in it all for 10 years that I did, I became a distinguished Toastmaster, which is the highest
Mhm.
level. That suited my purposes, and it changed my world in a way. And the other part
Yeah.
that changed my world is that something that happened to me January 1997. Now already I was here for 32 years. Already I was quite successful. People would say, hey John, you're so successful. I didn't feel that way. Even then I
Mm.
didn't. Until I walked into a store and I picked up a book, and as I picked up the book, I still don't know why. It was January 1997. I opened the book, and it was about ADHD.
Mm.
And
And it clicked.
I never even heard of it. And I said, oh my God, that's me. And so
Mhm.
I wrote in the book, now I finally know who I am. And in
Mm.
Dutch, because I was ashamed of it to a certain extent, because there I'm building companies and go to the banks, interact with them, do business plans and blah, 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 and all the other kind of things that I was doing already. We had fair-sized business. And then I have to say to the bank, okay, by the way, these plans are this, but I have a mental disorder. You call it ADHD. And you say, have a nice
Mm.
day. Obviously, that's not
I've
so, and not so today. The stigma is
mm.
disappearing. I call it a superpower. I couldn't have done
That's what
all the
I call
things.
it.
You like that? And
I do
so
because I met many, many amazing people, especially entrepreneurs that are, they do have some level or some form of ADHD. And I do myself because I know that when you are looking at all of these different sort of activities and you are going to be losing your focus eventually. But that's what can really drive you and you can really turn it into a superpower because it makes you keep going, keep doing things, right?
so the thing that you will like, Timmy, is that became the war years when I was born, and the effect of it, PTSD, the inner child, and
Mhm.
all of those things. I got actually counseling for the inner child well into my 50s, very emotional. And the fear of losing that one parent that you had. And so the other one was my decision. That's why I talked to you about it the way I did. The decision to go to Canada, I already made that decision when I was 5. I knew
Mhm.
always of myself, I'm a Canadian. Although I couldn't speak the language and I didn't know, but I always thought that was me. And to make that decision, still emotionally quite a big decision, because people don't do
Mhm.
that. Normally, and where I was born, our family lived all in a circle of about 30 kilometers. And if they would go outside of that, they would say, oh my God, Peter, he on the way at least 60 kilometers away, and I don't know why they're doing that because, blah, blah, blah. And I'm going to the other side of the world. So, that had a major impact. Then starting with nothing to prove to myself that I could do it, starting from the beginning, cleanup man, lumber pile, doing all of those kind of things. And then going to Toastmasters and become a better communicator, and it changed my life because I have the natural ability to do that, and
Mhm.
Toastmasters helped me along the way, and obviously now I'm very active as a podcaster, speaker, and doing all of those kinds of things, including writing, and then finding the ADHD. The book title was Driven to Distraction. It was
Mm.
written in 1993 by Dr. Halliwell. Now, what you may
Okay.
find interesting, I had him on my podcast, Dr. Halliwell, 2 weeks ago. And
That's
so, as
fantastic. You
we,
see the full
and
circle of life.
the full circle. And so as we talk, and if you have an opportunity, you should listen to that one.
I
It's
will,
about,
for
yeah.
sure.
So as we talked about it, is that when I found out more about ADHD and want to Google when I first found out about it and say, oh my God, that's me. So the more I found out about it, the more I found out that probably 8% of the population have it. I don't believe that today. In fact, when I had my discussion with Dr. Halliwell, he said, no, it's more than 20%.
That
He
seems
said,
about right.
no, he said, no, John, it's more than 25%. And then the other thing that I've believed and I've been saying all along, and then again repeated it with Dr. Halliwell and myself in saying that the other part, and this will click with you, I'm sure, is that I believe of the successful, and the successful is the operative here, entrepreneurs, at least, I said to Dr. Halliwell, in my opinion, at least 50% of them have it. He said, no, John, more than 75%. And so anyway, I wrote the book about it. Then I'm a bit of a late bloomer. So it took me, in fact, 5 years. I was 57 when I saw the book. It took me 5 years before I went to my family doc, who delivered our two daughters and who was a personal friend. And I went to his office and he said, hey, John, why are you here? I said, I think I got ADHD. So we looked at it and did all the stuff. Yeah, I do. So now I'm 62. And then from there on in, obviously with Toastmaster and all the other things, I already started business quite successful and growing, even at that time. But, so then it became more active. And people said to me, you should write a book about all the things that you've done, And I said, and so writing books is not easy, as you likely know.
No.
And so
I've got one as well behind me.
okay,
You.
yeah, and we want to make sure that we take a look at that one and show it to us as well. Sorry, and then, so I would start, I would stop, I would start it for about 20 years. And so then finally I knew if I didn't do it now, then it will never happen. So I started to write an autobiography, not about how successful John is, but rather the opposite, staying the course and all the other things. And it's this one, Against All Odds. And an autobiography, quite successful, available on all major media. And so when I did that, then the more I started talking about ADHD and all the other things surrounding it, I felt I had to write a book about it. So I wrote a book about that, ADHD Unlocked. And it's written with and I will send you copies of these in the Canary Islands. And the book, you can start it anywhere and go either forward or backwards. It is written with the mindset of ADHD, very popular. And then the other part, kind of rushing along here a little bit, is that so many people, and you can relate to that, so can I, is that they hate their jobs. They don't like what they are doing. And saying change.
Very common.
And they say, well, I can't because of this, that, and this. Saying, what are you going to do? You're not going to be happy. All the people around you that are close to you are going to feel that you're not really satisfied and happy. So, change. Do something that will motivate you, make you feel good. The same, I do a lot of presentations to young people. And I ask them always in my presentations is, what are you going to do for a career, or what are you doing about it? Exploring what you like to do, and so what I'm saying is that you should think about it in terms of, you want to be a truck driver, you want to be a carpenter or a builder, or you want to be a lawyer or a doctor, or for that matter an entrepreneur. Talk to people that are in those professions, so you get a general ideas and saying, that's the direction I like to go. And so I wrote a book about that. I think they're so important, is finding your passion, living the dream. So I did that one. And just one more book that I'm writing right now actually is that I believe it's very important to stay physically and mentally fit, and and that age is just a number. It's about the quality of life. Now I'm trying to get to 120, so I'm writing a
Well,
book
for
here,
sure.
living young,
I like it.
dying old. So that's coming out
Excellent.
in next July. So.
Oh, very good, very exciting. I couldn't agree more with you as well because I think like work and career in general is such a big part of our lives, and we end up
Yeah.
maybe a third of our life working. And if we are spending that time, that's a massive amount of time. That's a big chunk of our entire lives, a third of our lives. If we are spending it on something that we don't enjoy and we just really dreading that Monday morning or we're looking forward to finishing the shift. That's not life. And that's going to have a major impact on everything else in someone's life, your relationships, the people around you. When you go to the supermarket, you're going to be snappy and you're going to ruin other people's days with that as well. And it can be a little bit tricky understanding what is it that I want to do and what is my passion, what you are talking about there as well. But it can be something that we can achieve just going back a few steps, and instead of looking at the actual job titles, I think an easier way to maybe get to that is understanding what do I enjoy doing as a person in general, not at work, but what makes me feel that I'm alive, what makes me feel like I'm playing like a kid again. Is it maybe having conversations like this is one of my sort of energy charging opportunities, but some people prefer to maybe be in front of a computer and do things. So those are the little clues and insights into understanding where is my passion and what makes me me, and do that for work. And that was my personal biggest aha moment. That was back in 2020 when I moved from Sri Lanka back to Europe, and I took a job in Barcelona as a marketing and sales director. It was a great job, great team, but I still had that like something is missing. Like this is still not it. So I quit my job. I said, okay, I don't want to keep repeating the same cycle over and over again. That everything's great on paper. I leave and try to figure out what I am and what I want. And that was January 2020, before the whole world turned a little bit upside down for a while. And I said to myself, this is it. I need to pull the rug literally out under my feet to figure out what is it that I want, who is Timi, and what does she really want, instead of building always someone else's dreams and just being there in the background instead of getting to the forefront. And that's when I realized that I can combine business and my love for business and building businesses with doing something meaningful that is helping not just me but others as well to evolve as humans. So it's not I think, an easy process to get there, but it's doable, right?
So, yeah, thanks for sharing that, Timmy. So, the way I've kind of looked at it, and hence that's why I gave you my background. Obviously,
Mm,
I'm ADHD, there's no question about that, always was. So, it kind of explains why did you fail in
mhm,
grade 3 and grade 7 3 times? And well, it's
mhm,
simply because ADHD. That I could be sitting in a classroom, and if you would ask me, tell me of the 6 hours that you were sitting there, tell me at least what you were doing for 5 minutes. I said, I was not there mentally. I never was there because I was not interested in it. But combining that and taking it all the way, and that's why even ADHD has become a big part of my life in terms of making sure I share it with others in terms of that
mhm,
superpower, and give people, especially young people, the confidence that it is a benefit, it's not a liability. Learn to
mhm,
understand it, make it work for you. But the other part that I was going to say, even listening to you, is it took me till I was 62, and I went to
mhm,
the doc and saying, yeah, I have ADHD, and that was the key. But it took me all those years from the time that I was 13, wondering if I was as good or equal to, not better than,
mhm.
but equal to the others. It took me all the way to the other side of the world until I found I'm okay. And
Yeah.
where I am, I love what I'm doing. I get up at 5:30 in the mornings and I love my job and all the other things. I say I'm okay. And I think, but I see so often now is with young people in particular, but also with people that are beyond that, is saying they feel that they are not okay, they are not at peace with who they are. And so what I try to say, we are all special in some form or fashion, all unique, only one copy of us in the world, and to find that feeling of that I'm okay is very, very important. And then trying to find the things that you like to do because it creates a much better environment. And if that does not mean being a multimillionaire or making, because most
Yeah.
people that are billionaires, I can believe absolutely, they're not happy people
Mm.
in a lot of ways, as people sometimes think of, that it is all money that does it. It doesn't. In fact, in a lot of times, money is a liability. That if you can
Mm.
find that peace and that enjoyment of getting up in the morning and looking around you and saying, yeah, there are challenges, but I like where I am. I like what I'm doing. And that, hence, I say, when I fly in the plane, I look out of the window, I say it's paradise. So we have a place in North San. It's in Victoria. So I'm here during the week. I'm in Central British Columbia, and then at 1 o'clock I take a flight to Victoria, and I spend the weekend there. And we have
Nice.
horses, and every time I fly in, that I've done it for 20 years. I look outside the window, it says paradise. So to
Absolutely.
be at peace with who you are is the most important part, and then to find that peace is you have to discover that your inner objectives, but first and foremost feel. I see too many people say that is not good about me physically, that's not right about me, and that's wrong with me, and say get to the point that you make reconcile you're unique as to who you are. And I believe that is so
Absolutely.
important, especially for young people.
And what you're saying as well, it gave me an idea. I just maybe want to share that as well. That when you say that people need to feel good about themselves, I think that maybe the starting step should be to even understand themselves. And usually that's what I see happening when a lot of people are not feeling at peace with where they are and who they are and what they are. It usually happens when they haven't maybe done any sort of self reflection or haven't even tried to look at their fears or even understand what is it that I'm even scared of, or why do I feel that I'm not enough. That was one of my personal biggest revelations when I got to the bottom of that, like why am I keep chasing the accomplishments, all these external validation. And I thought that's what I needed to feel, that I was someone or I was worthy, or on all of those different things that get
Exactly.
caught up in your mind. But if I had not done all of that painful inner work to get there, I probably would still be running around the world and trying to figure out what is it that I want to do next. So I think for someone to really feel at peace, it's a wonderful feeling when you finally arrive there, isn't it? When you realize, actually, I am okay, I am enough, and I'm a wonderful being, and I have all this uniqueness to give to the world. It is a wonderful experience to get there.
So you started this new organization. You were the founder of.
Mhm.
That's what you have today, and the title
Yes,
of it is Connect One
marketing, yes.
Marketing. So tell us about that. So that is all a result of a lot of your experiences that you had and all the
Mhm.
different challenges all up, and that's
Yeah.
why it is so important that to have that volume of experiences you had before that point and reconciled who you are, and what you want to do, and putting all those benefits, including ADHD, to work for others. Uh, so, how did that all fit?
That all the life experience is just sort of like all these little pieces of puzzles that were sort of floating around in my mind finally just ended up in their places. It was quite a sudden revelation as well, and that was in Barcelona when I was living there, and I just quit that job as a sales and marketing director, and I was sitting on the balcony just by myself with a pen and paper, and I started just writing. I said I need to figure out like what is it that I can do that really sets me on fire internally, like my soul on fire, that makes my heart beat a bit faster. And I literally just started thinking of what makes me feel happy. What are the sort of activities that I love doing? And then I got another list on that piece of paper to say what are the things that I'm good at in the professional world, building businesses, giving advice, sort of strategizing, streamlining, marketing. And then I was sitting there for a little while and looked at the two sides of this paper, the things that make me happy and then things that I'm really, really good at work and with my experience. And the light bulb just went on suddenly. And I said, okay, I can literally bring these two together by only working with people who are doing something good for humanity or society. So I'm very much into spiritual development as well and personal development. That was a big side of me. That's why I was also running away from business when I left Malta and went to Sri Lanka and was meditating a lot and all that inner searching that was happening at that point. And I also loved equally business, and that's when I realized that I have these two big loves in my life, and I was keep yo-yoing from one to another. And I said, instead of me having to choose one, why should I choose one? Like, I don't need to choose one. That was a major limiting belief of mine. I didn't realize that we can have it all if we know what we want. You don't have to just settle for one or the other. So I said, okay, this is one love, this is one love. Let's bring them together. So I married them, and this is how I came up with the whole business idea that, oh, I could work with people within the holistic industry. I could work with uh, coaches and healers and massage therapists and all these lovely people who don't know anything about business because they are so focused on serving humanity. And I had the skill to help them out. And that's when it clicked for me to realize that if you put service in the focus point and you ask yourself, how can I serve in a way? Maybe it's a customer, maybe it's a gap in the market, maybe it's a community, whatever it is that you are serving. But you need to be creating value to others. You need to be creating value for our world to make it worthwhile. That's my personal beliefs, and I'm hoping that a lot more people are joining me on this ride as well. It seems to be finally taking off, and that's when it kicked off. That was January 2020. I spent hours the next day when it finally clicked. I said, okay, let's build a website. I had to do everything by myself. I didn't have a team around me. I was doing it all by myself, just to see, is this really what I want? And within 3 months, I had three major clients. So I said, okay, this is going to be working. And then the whole world stopped as well. I was already working online, so I was kind of used to the whole setup. It was kind of like I got a little preview of what was to come, and I was prepared for the working completely remotely.
Were you
And since then, it's been, yeah.
were you already
Go
on
on.
the Canary Islands then
This was Barcelona, so I was in Barcelona at that time, and
when you started?
when I started, and then a year later, I moved to the Canary Islands
So now
from
you knew
Barcelona.
for sure that was the direction. That
Yes.
idea, the flash, the light bulb went on and say,
Yeah.
I don't have to make the choice. I can do it. Started off and obviously
Mhm.
very quickly became successful, and then from there on expanded, met pretty much all online, and
Yes.
obviously the computers and the internet and being online has become a whole new area because the world is available to you no matter where your
Mhm.
location is.
Exactly. And I think when people realize that technology isn't against us, but we can use it as, like, for this, for example, like being able to have a lovely conversation with you from the other side of the world, it's fantastic. And maybe some people have a little bit of resistance towards maybe accepting certain technologies. For example, AI is a big topic nowadays. It is what it is. We need to decide how we use it. And a couple of weeks ago, actually, I was out. Well, last week, not wasn't even 2 weeks ago. I was visiting some friends and family back in Hungary, and my life mentor, that she knows me since I was 5, she told me this sentence that whatever you do, it's always down to your decision. If you have a knife in your hand, it's up to you if you're going to, like, cut a nice piece of meat with it and make a lovely dinner for someone, or if you're going to hurt someone with it. It's never the knife's fault. It's you, what you do with it. Same with technology. It's our decision. How we use it, it's up to us. Same thing in business. You can use business just to scam people and make a ton of money and create a lot of sort of devastation in some people's lives, or you can use business to lift people up, to inspire others, to empower them, to support them. That comes down to an individual decision, nothing else. Business itself, or in a job, not even business, maybe someone is in a corporate world, even that job itself is not going to make you and turn you into a different person. It's you and what you do with it. That's my personal take on that. We all have the decision, the power to make decisions, and our life is nothing but the results of our decisions.
So what I find unique about it, Timi, is that in my lifetime, I was born in 1940. When I came to Canada in 1965, we sent telegrams to Holland and saying, "Hello, I'm doing okay. Stop. I found a job. Stop. I make $2 an hour. I think that's pretty good. Stop. Everything else is okay." And then I wait for something to come back the following week. A short while thereafter, well, relatively speaking, in my lifetime, now I have an iPhone. I push one button and I speak either face to face or whatever with somebody in Europe, like somebody's down the street. The other one is that an evolution was that I started blogging to a certain extent. Then I started to work with a local television provider and started to do a form of podcasting just locally, interviewing interesting people. Then obviously COVID came and that opportunity disappeared. Then I had this beautiful studio that you call it, but this was an apartment that I own and I bought it as an investment. And then we said, well, what are we going to do now? Well, let's turn it into a studio. So that's what we did. So then I started interviewing more people, very interesting people in the region here, relatively small. Prince George has about 80,000 people and probably another 100,000 in all in northern British Columbia, but still a lot of people that are unique. And then we said, now what do we do? Because I may have to go, I had another apartment in Vancouver, maybe we'll set up a studio there. And then the more we thought about it and saying, well, how about virtual? And so like CNN and all the other ones, it's just, they're doing it now. They have 3 different people on the screen and it is just like face to face and saying, okay, well, maybe we'll do that. And then Podmatch came along as well. So we already were doing this. And then Podmatch, and before we know it, we're talking to you and the Canary Islands in Spain. Yesterday, I think I had somebody in Brazil. And so we're talking to people all over the world. And it is just like you and me are sitting here together, no different than if I would be locally, I'd be sitting on this couch, you'd be sitting here. And this is not much different from that. And then the other one that you, just for the benefit of our listeners around the world, you mentioned, so that is the next evolution. It's still on its infancy in my mind, but certainly it's the future, no question about that. And we want to be and are very active in it. The other one that you mentioned is AI, artificial intelligence. A lot has been heard about it, and saying, what do we do with it? Well, the genie is out of the bottle, so it's not going to go back. Then it becomes a question of what it will look like. It will make major dramatic changes, so you incorporate it, you get to know it, but it's an evolution of where things are going in time. But I love it. But if I look back in my lifetime, starting from the telegrams that we sent to where we are today, it's unbelievable. But I still have friends that are in their 80s that don't even do emails. And so I'm trying at my age to be part of the technology moving forward, and I love it. So it's very, very exciting. But coming back to you, you built your business after reconciling who are you and coming to peace with all the things that you wanted to come to
Yeah.
peace with, and saying, location really doesn't matter. It's whatever suits you the best. The world is on your doorstep, and technology will be there to support it. And that is a major change, and we are taking advantage of it. So are you, and
Yeah.
and it is amazing.
That was one of my drivers and motivators when before I launched my business, and I was just in that thinking phase of trying to figure out what is it that I wanted. One of the sort of key non-negotiables for me was to create something that is location independent, so I don't have to be stuck in a specific location just because of a job. And that was the whole thought process behind it in my mind, that I really wanted to explore the world without feeling that, okay, I have to make a decision. Do I choose my job or travel the world? Like, I don't want to make these kind of decisions. I want to make more exciting kind of decisions that are innovative, or things like that. So we should not feel so restrained by making these kind of maybe different kind of moves. And I think that's the best thing that came out of this whole COVID situation, is this, that it became the norm that people can do their jobs from home. You can do it from a different location. It's a lot more acceptable nowadays.
So I'm doing a fair amount of speaking, giving keynotes, and if I do it in certain areas, it will usually take me 2 days by the time I get there, give the keynote, and then I have to make my way back, and so this media works much better for me because we having this interesting discussion between you and me. But at the other hand, we got tens of thousands of people watching our conversation. You could not
Exactly.
duplicate anything like this in another form. So that now, before we go, I want to make sure that you share with us your website, and I want to see your book. If you can show it to us and see
Tell you the
where it is.
story about that book. That's the only hard copy I
No, that's
have.
fine.
It's a digital format. So the easiest way to check, I have a lot of free resources on my website as well, which is connect1marketing.com. I just want to give you a bit of backstory why I named the company Connect One Marketing.
Okay.
I do believe that all of us as humanity, we are all connected in one way or another. And if we start to realize that how we have an impact on one another, we can really start establishing this connection a little bit better, and we can maybe become a better society overall. And that was my whole idea behind it, to even to use something like what people call marketing, maybe not the nicest things in a lot of people's minds, but if it's used well enough to empower and to unite, it can also create value. So if anyone is interested in maybe learning about how to build their own businesses or how to market their own businesses in a way that is ethical, first of all, and it's authentic, then they can just read through a ton of my articles and free resources on the website, including the ebook version of the book as well. The reason why I have the printed copy here is for me to remind me that, like, if I could do that, I can keep going and I can do more of that. It's just a little personal motivator for me as well, to keep it in the back of my mind.
So connectonmarketing.com
Connect One
will have
Marketing, yes.
connectonemarketing.com.
Hmm.
That's the
Correct,
website.
yes. That is, yes. Everything
Timi,
else is on there.
Timi, it was a pleasure and a privilege to have you on my
Like,
podcast. And let's make sure we stay in touch.
absolutely. Thank you so much for having me, and I loved listening to your life stories as well. Such an inspiration. So please keep writing and keep doing what you're doing. It's incredible.
I will. Thanks, Timi. Take care.
Thank
Bye
you.
bye.
Take care. Bye.